Okay? So how do you do it?
Okay.
Por la idea de los niños.
Haribol.
Too far. Tienes que ponerla aquí
Acá.
cerquita. Eso, cerquita. Tú la llamas ahí.
No, no en la mitad.
Mira, mamá.
Sí, mamá. A ver, canta.
Mira.
That's cheating.
No cheating.
No, but she's going. She's going. Krishna, Hare Hare.
Escogió la mamá.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Prabhupada. Haribo, Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo. Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura. Nitai Gaura Premanande. You can put it here. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Haribo. So you're going to be rich now. Nothing to worry about, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna have to scoop a little bit. Okay, that's good.
Oh, logistics. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Oh. Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Govinda, Hare Hare Hare. Janamala Girivaradhari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Shashodhanandana Ajajamaranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajamaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Ye Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodhanandana Rajachanaranjana Yasodha Nandana Vrajachanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Krishna Vallabha Irivaradari Krishna Vallabha Yasodhanandana Vrajachanarana Yasodhanandana Vrajachanarana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Rakamarava Punjabi Hari Rakamarava Punjabi Hari Sisi Radha Madhava Ki Sisi Radha Sham Sundar Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Mam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Rasatayane Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangulam Gayate Girim Yakrapa Tamaham Bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Sometimes in my effort to help people become devotees, they run into so many difficulties due to their conditioning and due to the environment that the average person lives in. And they try to be Krishna conscious, but the environment is not good. They may be associating with people who are quote-unquote toxic for them. And sometimes they find it difficult to follow the principles. Sometimes they give up, even initiated devotees will give up their vows, give up chanting. And occasionally I think, not that I seriously think this way, but the thought goes in my mind, did Prabhupada start a mission that's actually impossible for the mass of people? Because we try so hard to help people, and still, despite all the temples, all the books, all the kirtans, all the classes, all the traveling preachers, we know that for many people still it's difficult. And so, when I think of what Prabhupada did, it was much more difficult because he was starting from scratch. Now, in our movement, so much is going on, there's so many senior devotees, so it's easier. But still, even though it's easier, it's still difficult. And so, for Prabhupada to just go in where there's nothing and turn people into devotees, I think we take that for granted. But I can just say from my own experience in trying to help people become pure devotees, that it's not easy. Even though they have so much more facility than Prabhupada had. So, I often say that Krishna chose the perfect person for the job. For every job you need the right person. You have the job but the wrong person, it doesn't get done. It doesn't get done well. Prabhupada was the right person. He had the depth of Krishna consciousness and the depth of compassion and empowerment needed. And one of, I think, the most memorable experiences, if not basically most of what we remember when we remember Prabhupada, even though we will recount what he said, we remember how we felt when we were with him. And so sometimes you'll see an interview and someone will describe a kirtan or describe an event and how Prabhupada looked at them, or how Prabhupada danced, or how he walked, or how he drank water, how he glanced at the devotees, how he gave out the cookies. And it's all in the context of a class or an interview or a conversation. And it's very common for devotees to say, I can't remember what he said, but this is how I felt. So there was a writer named Maya Angelou, or I don't know if she was or still is alive. She said something, maybe it's well known. She said, people will forget what you said, but they won't they won't forget how you made them feel, or they won't forget how they felt in your presence. And so we see that very much with Prabhupada. And I can say from my experience, and I think I would speak on behalf of all the devotees who met Prabhupada, that the experiences we had, just what we were feeling, what we were realizing, what we were experiencing, were all unique in the presence of Prabhupada. That often we'll think of those days, even think of the things that we were able to do then that we can't even do now because of the inspiration we had. And we'll reminisce and say, yeah, what I was feeling was unique. Not that I don't feel Krishna conscious now, but the feelings I got in the presence of Srila Prabhupada were unique. So therefore, we say, Prema Bhakti Jahaite, Prema Bhakti Jahaite Abhijya Vinasha Jati. So Prema is emanating from his heart. And sometimes we felt, and sometimes we saw, at least what seemed to be happening is that Prabhupada decided that in order for us to go forward in Krishna consciousness, or in order for us to be empowered to spread Krishna consciousness, he needed to give us something that we didn't have, some special Shakti, some special blessing. And so sometimes in a kirtan, there would be something special that everyone would feel and everyone would know. Prabhupada just like opened the faucet of ecstasy and it just like shot out, and it was not a normal kirtan, it was not a normal experience. Everyone was experiencing. Did you experience that? Oh yeah, that was amazing. And you go around and all the devotees are saying, yeah, what was that? That was unusual ecstasy. Or in a class, you get some realization or deeper understanding, epiphany, and you felt like Prabhupada's just like, not only was he saying it, but he was blessing us to understand it, and not only blessing us to understand it, but to experience it. So that's the power of a pure devotee. And as Shruti Kirti said to Prabhupada, he said, I don't think the Krishna consciousness movement would have succeeded if your books came, but you didn't come. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's correct. So, you can say Prabhupada is in his books. Not that you can say. We say that Prabhupada's in his books, and we say that the Vani is better than the Vapu. The reason we say that is because the Vani, the instructions, will always be there, and the Vapu won't. But if you have the Vapu or the personal presence of Prabhupada, you will say that was better. I mean, we don't have it now. I mean, we can get it transcendentally through service, through hearing, and so forth. But, Prabhupada always said, Vani is better because you can get it anywhere, anytime, and it's eternal. But if you ever had Prabhupada's association and you had a chance to get it, you wouldn't say, well, Prabhupada's coming to Miami. Oh, I'll just read the Bhagavatam. I don't need to go. And it's like, how are we getting there, Who's driving? Let's go.
Prabhupada ki.
Okay. So the Prema Bhakti Jaha Haite, the prema that's coming from his heart, we experience that for sure. Because, Arjuna asked Krishna, well, how does a pure devotee walk, talk, sit, stand, eat, and so forth? And when we were with Prabhupada, in our minds, we were answering that question was going through our minds, and Prabhupada was answering that question by everything he did. So we'd always want to see how he would do things, or how he would answer a question, or how he would respond to a situation. For us, it was not only educational, which definitely it was, but it was transcendently entertaining, because he didn't always act the same way in every situation. So sometimes he'd get a question, and he'd answer it one way, you get a question another time, and you think, oh, he's going to say this, and he would say something different. Or he'd ask us a question, and he'd want to get a certain answer. We give the wrong answer, finally someone would give the right answer. Next month he asks the same question, you give the right answer, he'd say no. You give the answer he accepted last month, now he'd say no. So it was always like, for me anyway, it was always like a mystery. Like what's his next move? What is he going to say next? How is he going to answer this question? How is he going to deal with this situation? And so that was the answer to the question, how does a pure devotee talk? How does he walk? How does he act? We're always looking at it, seeing it in every variety of situations. And someone would say, like a guest would say something, and then in my mind I'd think, oh, well, this is how I would answer it. But it doesn't mean that I thought Prabhupada would answer it that way, and I'd wait for him to answer. And quite often, he'd answer in a totally different way than I expected. So, I was once with Prabhupada. I found it very interesting, the situation I was in. And I think this is an example of what I'm talking about. It must have been 1971 or 72. Yeah, probably 72. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. 71 or 72. No, it must have been 72. The fact that I can remember my name is pretty good. To speak of the dates that this Rath Yatra was. So, no, definitely 71. Definitely. Okay, my brain's better than I thought. It was 1971. And I had become a temple president in November of 1970. So this is Rath Yatra 1971, and we had come down from Vancouver to San Francisco. And so I was given the message, this was my second Rath Yatra, I was given the message that there's going to be a temple president's meeting. And I was the temple president, and that temple president's meeting was going to be in the evening in the Berkeley temple. And Berkeley is where I joined, but now I was living in Vancouver, and I think it must have been at someone's home. I don't remember it being at the temple. I actually can't remember. I remember the room, but I don't remember that room existed in that temple. I lived in that temple. So it was a temple president's meeting, I was told early in the day, and then I was thinking, well, I've never been to a temple president's meeting with Prabhupada, so I began imagining what it's going to be like. And the way the mind works, whenever you're going to do something you've never done, you start making assumptions about how it's going to be based on your experience or what you've read or what seems logical and so forth. So I'm thinking a temple president's meeting. This is like a managerial meeting, like we're going to discuss management and organization and strategy. I really didn't know, but that's what was going through my mind. So the whole day during Rath Yatra, I'm thinking, tonight's the temple president's meeting. Like, what's Prabhupada going to talk about? What's he going to do? And so this time, 1971, I would guess there were at least 25 temples, maybe more. Just find out, looking back to Godhead, you can know how many temples were, how fast they were growing. Just go through each year, each issue, each month, and you'll see a list of temples. So when I joined in January 1970. There were, I think, 19 temples or something. So this is a year and a half later. So definitely 25, 30, 35, maybe even 40 temples. And so that's, a bit to manage, and those temples are now spread around the world. So I'm thinking, Srila Prabhupada's managing the movement. So you're managing, in those days, if you were managing a big organization, you'd have 2 or 3 telephones, 2 or 3 secretaries, each with a few phones, and, basic. I mean, not like now, but that's how it would be, So I thought, here's the leader of the movement. He's going to have a big office and a bunch of phones and all this and that. So we go in, and as you could guess, Prabhupada's sitting behind the desk, just a simple desk, no phones. He didn't like phones, he didn't use them. And so we sit down, he gives us some prasadam, some dried fruit. The temple presidents are there. There weren't that many at that Rath Yatra, maybe 8. So I'm like, okay, what's the strategy? What's the latest theory he's going to talk about? And he just talked about preaching and opening temples. So just preach, open temples. That was the whole meeting. It was totally inspiration. Nothing like, this is how you do it practically. This is what you should do. This is how you do it. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Nothing. Just inspiration. Just spread Krishna consciousness, open more temples. So that's just an example of how I never knew how Prabhupada would deal with any situation. You just never knew. And it was always educational and sometimes mysterious and sometimes very deep to understand. We'd always try to understand, why is he doing what he's doing? Why is he saying what he's saying? Why is he saying different things to different people? And so we were learning what it means to be a pure devotee by watching him. And we were so enamored by him, we just wanted to be like him. We wanted to be like him so much that if you look at photos and during Prabhupada's times, you'll see devotees dressing like Prabhupada. Right, with those, we call, I don't know, what do we call those? Like the Vrindavan, those.
Prabhupada hat.
We call it a Prabhupada hat. We found out later it wasn't a Prabhupada hat. Everyone in Vrindavan would wear those in the winter. But it looked like a pilot, like a World War I pilot hat kind of thing. And so I had, back when I was brahmachari, I had one. Pushkar, did you have one? Wear one of those?
I actually had Prabhupada remnants, but I don't have
Oh, wow.
What is it?
I had one of Prabhupada's hats for a while, but
Disappeared?
I still had it.
Wow.
Auction.
He doesn't know where it is.
I used to wear it. I gave it before.
So you'll see sometimes devotees are wearing these hats. You may wonder, like, those hats look funny. We didn't think like that. We thought, well, this is Prabhupada wears it, so it couldn't be cooler, and you couldn't get any cooler than wear what Prabhupada wore. So for us, it was like, you walk down the street, you don't think, I look pretty stupid in a pilot hat, We just thought, I look cool. Prabhupada wears it. And then we were enamored by Prabhupada. Like, whatever he did, we'd want to do it. And we, sometimes devotees would watch Prabhupada when they would eat with him. What's he eating? How's he eating? What does he take first? So we just wanted to do everything like Prabhupada. And it got a little extreme because then some devotees started talking like Prabhupada. Grammatically. Maybe less with the accent and more with the grammar. And pronouncing Sanskrit like Bengali, the way Prabhupada did it, and moving the head and so forth. So Prabhupada had such a fantastic influence over us. that we wanted to be like him, and we had this, maybe power over us is not the right word, because it sounds like he was trying to manipulate us, which of course he wasn't. But he had the power over us in the sense that he was so attractive that we just wanted to serve him. He was so attractive, we just wanted to give everything to him. And during the cult days, we were accused of giving everything to our guru, working hard, bringing money to our guru, being, mesmerized, hypnotized, brainwashed, just doing everything for our guru. And it wasn't brainwashed. It wasn't brainwashing, it was love. It was pure love. And one thing I distinctly remember, for me personally, and I think this is true for most, maybe all Prabhupada disciples, I had a very strong desire to give my life to Prabhupada. And, these are not things you explain and analyze. It's just, it's what you're feeling and what you want to do. And surrender and love is not, it's not coming from the brain. It's not coming from the intellect. It's coming from the heart. So, when I saw Prabhupada, I just felt like, take everything. Whatever I have, just take it. Of course, I didn't have anything much. But take it. I had energy. I had life. I said, take that. I give it to you. With pleasure. That was my greatest pleasure, my greatest happiness. Just give it. I just wanted to give it freely. And there was no thinking like, well, what if I give my life to Prabhupada? Then what's going to happen? Maybe 20 years from now I'll regret it. Or, I want to get married and I won't have any money. Or none of that. It's just, you see Prabhupada, and like, can I give everything to you? So I want to talk about that a little bit, because in my travels, I travel to lots of places where devotees never see or never get to meet, or rarely, not that they don't get to meet, but it's not often that they meet disciples of Prabhupada. So for them, it's quite special. And one of the things they commonly say is, you disciples of Prabhupada, you are so surrendered to Prabhupada. You gave up so much. You dropped out of university, gave up all your prospects for material life, and you traveled and preached, and you opened temples, and you did so much austerity, etc., etc. And my answer to them is, if you were there, you would have done it also. If you were there and you saw Prabhupada, believe me, you would have done the same thing. It's not that we are special. People say, will ISKCON ever be the same as it was when Prabhupada was here? I don't think it could exactly ever be the same. That was a unique period. The context was unique. But it's not that we were unique. Prabhupada was unique, and anyone who came in touch with Prabhupada who had a willingness to practice Krishna consciousness, they would just spontaneously want to give everything to Prabhupada. That's just how it was. So, when people say, you were so austere, you were so this or that, it's not like we felt that way. It was just like, a man is working 10, 12 hours a day to support his family. Oh, you're so austere, you're so dedicated. And it's true, he is austere and dedicated, but he doesn't feel it because he's doing it out of love. So that's how we felt it. We didn't feel like this is a great austerity. It was just we wanted to do it. It was out of love. Just like some of you know the story that Giriraj Swami was in Mumbai, and his parents came, and his father was willing to offer him a lot of money, maybe $1 million at that time, which is probably equivalent to like 10 million. In other words, it was enough money to retire on the interest. You'd never have to work. And so Giriraj Swami's father said, it's okay that he's a devotee, but, we miss him and we want him to come home and we're worried about him and this and that. And Prabhupada said, yes, he can, if he wants to go, he can go. I'm not holding him here. He said, you can talk to him. You can ask him. I think Prabhupada said, so Girashami, you want to go home? No, Srila Prabhupada. I want to stay with you. So, from one perspective you could say the Hare Krishna movement is breaking up families. But in the context of this discussion, we see this deep love that was even deeper than the love one had for their own parents. Like, this is the spiritual father. And so it was the surrender was very natural and very easy and very spontaneous. And I don't think we ever thought, oh, we're so surrendered. It was just, for us, it was just normal, spontaneous, and out of love for Prabhupada. And for us, if we could do something and Prabhupada was pleased, Prabhupada would smile, then there was nothing more we could ever ask for than that. That was like the height of our existence. Give us $1 million. No, we want to see Prabhupada smile. If I get $1 million and he won't smile, I just want the smile. I don't want the money. Give me this, that. No, I want to see Prabhupada smile. So you just try to imagine what that love was like, that to do something to get this person to smile was the pinnacle of your life, and nothing could make you happier than that. That's like special, right? Or just to get him to say, I'm pleased with what you've done. It's not some psychological thing like we all had so low self-esteem and we needed someone to say, I'm happy with you. No, it was just the relationship was so sweet and special. If we knew we pleased him, then that was it. Our life was perfect. For me personally, I had some, you could say, unusual experiences with Prabhupada because I grew up in Los Angeles, and if you walk north from the temple about 20 minutes, that was my neighborhood, so it was pretty close. It was like, I think, closer than how I live to the temple now, actually. To both temples. The first temple in LA was in my neighborhood, and the second, they're just kind of in between. And so the morning walks I got to go on with Prabhupada were at the places I used to go before I was a devotee and do all my nefarious, sinful activities. And now I get to walk with Prabhupada. So it made it even more special. Prabhupada used to walk in a park called Cheviot Hills. You may have seen the Life Come From Life book, and it'll say Morning Walk in Cheviot Hills. Well, Cheviot Hills is the park where I played Little League Baseball, Junior League Baseball, tennis, golf, and swimming. That was my neighborhood. That's where I did everything. And so Prabhupada's walking there every day. So for me, it was just kind of special to be like Prabhupada's in my neighborhood. It's like, wow. Hridayananda Maharaj also grew up in the neighborhood, and he would go with Prabhupada to Cheviot Hills, and he'd drive through the neighborhoods and see all the houses where he went to all these parties, and he did what he did at parties. And it was also interesting for him that he would be with Prabhupada in all those same places. So, what I feel strongly about for myself, but for all of us, is that Prabhupada's ability to give us Krishna consciousness was not just what he taught, but it's because of who he was. And the fact that we got it and we have this example, and he would stay with us and tolerate us. I don't know if Krishna sent some other Vaishnava to the West, I don't know how long they'd last, because we may have driven them crazy. I was thinking of doing a video once, and the video was going to be called, "Are You a Bonafide Mala?" So it would show different scenarios, like you eat and you don't wash your hands. And so we'd have someone eat and they'd sit there, and then 4 devotees would come and go, you're, in unison, "You're a bona fide Mala." And you just go down the list of all these things we do, Put your hand in your nose and touch the deity, and, this is like endless things, we could do to qualify ourselves as outcasts by Vedic standards, right? And so this is what Prabhupada was dealing with, right? And somehow or other, he tolerated it, he overlooked so much. And so here we are, Srila Prabhupada tolerated us, he didn't leave us. Am I so stupid that I would leave him? I can't think of anything more stupid I could do than that. So, somehow our Prabhupada made his way into our lives. And, he could have given up on us, but he didn't. And we're going to give up on him, and he didn't give up. If anybody should give up on anybody, it's him on us, not us on him. Right? So I think of that often. And so I often say, the 2 greatest things I did in my life ever was to accept Prabhupada when I met him, and to never have left him after I met him. And if we can do that, he'll take care of the rest. Because Prabhupada is, he's not a limited person who doesn't know what we're doing and doesn't know what's in our heart and doesn't know our struggles and doesn't know what we need. He's there for all of us, not just disciples, but for all of us. I once was managing the temple in Vancouver, so I was very young. It was difficult. I had just turned 20. I'd been a devotee less than a year. And they put me in charge of a temple. And there were only 3 other devotees there. So that was difficult. It was an outpost. And I'd never seen snow before, so that alone was like hard enough. I'm from Southern California. So to go from Southern California and live in a place where there's snow, even if I wasn't managing a temple, that was hard. And temple didn't have any heat at night. And devotees were a bit difficult to get along with. And in those days we didn't have money. And often it was time to pay the rent and there was no money. And the landlord's asking for the money, like, when are we going to get our money? And this was common. So it was a lot of anxiety. And I think at the height of my anxiety, when I really didn't know what to do, Prabhupada came to me in a dream and massaged my hands. He just rubbed my hands. It's like, this will be okay. Like, a sensual experience in a dream. I could feel it. And I could feel myself relaxing in the dream and feeling confident. So it's interesting, if you've ever had a dream like that, that's so relevant to your situation, you could ask, well, how would Prabhupada know what's going on? How would he know what's going on in Vancouver? But he did. And he came to pacify me. He said, it's okay. Everything will be okay. And eventually it was okay. It all worked out, and Krishna sent more devotees and more money and so forth. And we take that as Prabhupada sending it in his mercy. So it's nice to feel that shelter, that we all have it, that Prabhupada knows, and he's there to help us in our struggles. He's not in the 3 dimensions. Many of you have heard stories of devotees leaving their bodies, many devotees, who didn't really deserve, one could say, didn't really deserve for Prabhupada to be there, because they had given up service to him and done many things against his instructions. they report that Prabhupada had come for them. Like, that is, they had served him and pleased Prabhupada, and he couldn't forget them. And Prabhupada, many times, when devotees had fallen away from Krishna consciousness, had given up their sannyas ashrams, and they had come back to Prabhupada and asked, will you accept me? Or are you going to kick me away? He would say, no. You've done service, how could I kick you away? How could I forget you? So that's Prabhupada's heart. You do some service, and then it's like, he's there for you. We think, oh, I'm nothing, what have I done? But in Prabhupada's mind and his heart, it's something. And when you've done that service, he's like, okay, you've done service, I will take care of you. So I think we should have that faith, because it's the experience of many devotees, my experience also. So, should I stop and questions, discussions, something? It's a weeknight. We don't want to go too late. Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
I was wondering about the you saying at the beginning that we have that Prabhupada, or when the Guru leave, he leaves us with his instructions, and also he has his relation when he's present. He's telling that we have to remember Prabhupada and how we'll be connected to Prabhupada, in that sense, if you don't mind.
How would we be connected if we never met him?
Yeah, in that sense.
Yeah. I can say from personal experience, I've been, after Prabhupada left, I became temple president 3.5 more times. The half time was, I wasn't supposed to be president, so I left after a week or two. But 3 other times I was president. And I always found that being a temple president, I felt very close to Prabhupada because it was his temple. It's like if I let you stay in my house and I say, take care of my house, you'll be thinking about me a lot because, this is Mahatma's house, I can't trash his house, I have to take care of it. And you spill some grape juice on the upholstery, you're like freaking out, you got to clean it, this is Mahatma's house, like that. So I always felt specifically taking that kind of responsibility, it doesn't have to be that responsibility, but any responsibility, I always felt like Prabhupada's saying, yes, good, thank you. Like he's watching me, he's doing it. So anytime you can take more responsibility for maintaining the movement or maintaining devotees, pushing forward, solving a problem, you're like Prabhupada's there. I have to solve lots of problems. And someone might say, well, it must be difficult, you're dealing with all kinds of problems. But not really, I just feel closer to Prabhupada. It's like, because I don't feel like they're my problems, they're the problems for his movement, so it's service to him to solve these problems, whether they're individual problems or managerial or Siddhantic problems, or people are misunderstanding things. And sometimes it does cause me anxiety, but it's also, there's a blissful side of it. That, well, now I feel closer to Prabhupada because I'm fighting a battle. Another story, there was a problem. One of my godbrothers was leaving his body in Vrindavan, and he had really brought up the preaching in Argentina. And there was some pretty serious problems there. He was kind of running everything, but now that he wasn't coming back, and there were problems, and for other reasons there were problems. It was really difficult. So I was asked to go there, he asked me to go, or others asked me to go to help out. And it was pretty much like walking into a battle in hell, if you know what I mean. And every day was not pleasant. But I thought, you know, I'd rather be in a battle in hell for Prabhupada than in paradise for my sense gratitude, than in Hawaii just enjoying on the beach. That there's greater pleasure in that. And that's how I felt. And at that point I felt like, oh, I feel so honored that I could be serving Prabhupada in this capacity. I felt special. Like this is like, it's like there's a war, go out, you know. We're putting you in charge of the troops. It's a big honor. Certainly difficult, but you feel honored that they would ask you, and you feel honored that you get to defend your country. So in those kinds of situations, we feel very close to Prabhupada. And I think also, you know, in one sense you could see problems as opportunities because there's so many problems. And there's so many opportunities for all of us. If you're into solving problems, there's plenty to solve. There's plenty of service in solving problems. And I often think, I'll share this with you and see if this helps you. I have this vision. I always have this vision when I see problems that I could actually do something about, and then do I want to do something about it or not? This is like, it's just another headache. Do I want to take it? And then I think of this scenario. I go back to Godhead, and Prabhupada's there, and he says, you know that problem you didn't solve? Why didn't you solve it? So like, I always think, okay, well, when I go back to Godhead, I have to do my best, so when I get there, he'll have nothing to say. That I tried, you know, I saw this and I did something, you know. Sometimes we see something and we know really something should be done, but we feel like, well, who am I? I can't do anything, and it's been tried before. But that thought of Prabhupada asking you, well, why didn't you do it? You know, and something interesting I heard today, that the way governments run, the governments themselves are not the best people to get things done. It's individuals who take initiative and form committees and, you know, go out and do something. They get more done than governments. I thought that was interesting because I related that to ISKCON. Like you may say, well, I'm not a GBC, I'm not a temple president, I'm not this and that. Well, just form a little group, take charge and, you know, solve this problem. You know, you might be able to do what the GBC could never do in solving a problem. You know, we need to educate the children. Okay, well, form a group, do it. We need to train leaders. Okay, train a few. We need, you know. So that's another way of thinking. And if you do that, I would like to make a guarantee to you. If you do that, you will feel connected to Prabhupada. Of course, if you study his books, you'll feel that way also. And listen to his lectures. But I think that you could have that same connection that even people had when in Prabhupada's presence, when you take those kinds of responsibilities. Does that make sense? You know, like you know there's a problem somewhere and you could do something about it and you don't. You're missing an opportunity to get closer to Prabhupada. Right? You agree? We may not want to agree. I don't know if I made anybody feel guilty or something. Yeah. I'm looking at your face and thinking, wow, does everybody feel like bad that I said that? But that's my experience. Thinking, you know, like for example, younger devotees, thinking about the future when the Prabhupada disciples are not here, how are we going to move forward? What do we need? Then you feel connected to Prabhupada, or whatever you're good at. You know, I could make money doing this, or whatever it is, or, you know, like restaurants. You like cooking restaurants. All right, Prabhupada I want to create a franchise and train cooks. You know, we can do anything, you know, because we know what Prabhupada wanted. And when we do that, we feel closer. At least that's my experience. Is that okay? Or you want more ways to feel closer?
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
Prabhupada was very concerned about the deities, so the deity standards would be maintained. He was very concerned about philosophical standards being maintained. So if ever you come across something that doesn't sound right, that's being taught or spoken about, or standards that you become aware of that are minimized, say something, do something. He would want us to do that. And you'll feel connected. Or whatever it is. I mean, there could be so many things. I'm just giving some examples. It can be so many things. Yes?
Maharaj, I have 3 questions.
Wow.
Only 3.
That's it?
You know that joke?
What is it?
This guy goes to the guru on top of the mountain. And the guru says, you have 3 questions. And he says, why only 3? And the guru says, you have 2 left. And he says, why do I only have 2 left? And he says, you have 1. Okay. I'll have to be brief to answer 3. Okay.
So, my first question is, I'm new to Krishna Consciousness.
Okay.
Is my understanding that Krishna Consciousness is both an external and internal process at the same time?
It's first internal and it manifests externally. But, Krishna consciousness means to serve in the mood that this is for Krishna's pleasure. So that's the internal. And there are so many internal understandings. And then if I want to serve to please someone, I have to act in a certain way that will please them. So then there's the external, which follows. But if I just act properly, but I don't have the right mood, then I really missed everything. Because love is the basis. So that's primary. But if I act properly, it can awaken the love. So sometimes you have to act without love. But so you're just doing it, you're doing the right thing, and the love will come. But in general, we want, as far as possible, to be in the mood that this is for Krishna's pleasure. So, yeah, is that clear?
Like externally, we can do like pujari service, a lot of deity worship, temple service, what. But I find it hard sometimes finding instructions of how to work with my internal moods, how to work with my internal energies. How do I use my internal willpower in Krishna consciousness?
Everything's for Krishna's pleasure. I exist for Krishna's pleasure. My body exists for Krishna's pleasure. The world exists for Krishna's pleasure.
With my internal meditation.
Yeah. That you see everything in this world belongs to Krishna, including you. Everything is meant for his pleasure.
So why does Krishna allow me to feel these lower energies inside myself? Is that for his pleasure?
No. It's because we want to. So he's not interfering. And also, he allows us to feel it so we can experience frustration in feeling it, and then thereby understand that our real position is to please him. Because you will not feel happy being independent of Krishna. And you might understand it intellectually, but you need to experience it also. And when you're independent, you experience it. There's an emptiness, there's a suffering, and so forth. So Krishna lets us do that just so we can have an experience. Like I can say, you'll be unhappy if you don't serve Krishna. And you might say, that makes sense. But you need to actually experience it, which we have ample experience of. And you need to experience happiness of serving. So Krishna knows that pain and suffering is an impetus. And without it, we've come into this world to be separate from Krishna. So if there's not something that's going to push us towards him on our own, we won't go. Because if we're okay without him, we're okay without him. And it's only when we're not okay that we say, oh God, help me. Right? And without that, no one could become a devotee, because we didn't come here to be a devotee. We came here to not be a devotee. So Krishna has to say, okay, well, let's see how that works. And it doesn't work, and we hit a certain point, say, God help me, show me, this doesn't work. What does work? So that independence is necessary in two ways, to experience it. And the other thing is, you as a soul are conscious, and conscious means choice, independence. If you weren't conscious, you'd be matter. So just as a soul, conscious soul, that's the definition of consciousness. It has free will. And Krishna will never interfere with it. You could say he's interfering with it by speaking Bhagavad Gita, in a sense. He's trying to interfere with our free will. At least he's trying to guide our free will. But he's not going to force us. And that's why in the Gita he tells Arjuna, now I've instructed you, you can do what you want. Do what you want. But after that he expresses what he wants, but he says do what you want because I'm just stating I'm not going to interfere. But this is what I want. Everything I said is what I want you to do. But now you'll have to make that choice. I won't interfere with your choice.
So in the case of Putana, she had the wrong intention internally.
Putana? Yeah.
Externally, she
Yeah.
did service for Krishna.
Yeah.
He gave her
Yeah.
great mercy for that.
Right.
The devotee, the old lady that was eating the banana first and then offered it to Lord Ram.
Yeah.
Her external service was wrong, but internally she was correct.
Right. How do you juxtapose that? Okay. That story was actually Vidura's wife. And so that offering of the banana peel was done in a state of deep love, and she didn't know what she was doing. But Krishna felt the love, so he accepted it and he ate it and he enjoyed it. The situation with Putana was very interesting. If you go into it more deeply, Krishna has two forms. In one form, is a Vishnu form, he kills the demons. And in his Krishna form, he loves. So as Vishnu, he killed Putana, and as Krishna, he loved her. Because Krishna only loves. So, Krishna, as all great personalities, they see the good in everyone. They don't see the bad, they only see the good, right? So she's coming, feeding breast milk, so he thinks, oh, this is like a mother feeding me breast milk. So he takes that. Vishnu kills her because she's trying to poison him. So therefore, in the third canto, like 23rd verse, 23rd, you know, the 23, 21 or something, there's a verse about this. And it's so interesting. The verse says, Putana comes to kill Krishna, and Krishna gives her the position of mother. And said, well, what other person, what other God should I worship than one who can be more merciful than Krishna, right? So that story of Putana is meant to inspire us to surrender to Krishna. It's not meant to inspire us to try to kill him and see if we get the same result. So you have to distinguish between what is an example. So with Vidura's wife, that's an example. If you offer with love, Krishna will accept it even if it's a banana peel, although it's not recommended. You try. I'm going to try. Don't try this at home on your deities. See if they eat your banana peel. I want to test my bhakti, so I'm offering banana peels today, and if I go to get the offering and they're all gone, that means I'm doing good. I chanted good rounds today. So these are examples for us to understand the philosophy and understand the nature of Krishna, but not examples for us to imitate, because as sadhakas we are instructed to act a certain way. So, isn't that interesting? It was Vishnu who killed her, but Krishna in his original form who loved her. Isn't that sweet? So Prabhupada, he said, Krishna loves you even if you don't love him. Krishna loves every living entity. So as Krishna, he loves Putana as a mother, because Krishna doesn't know how to hate. But as Vishnu, he establishes Dharma, and he has to protect Dharma and protect the residents of Vrindavan, so he kills her. Or where did Putana, was she in Vrindavan or Mathura or where? Vrindavan. So anyway, he manifests that form to kill her. Does that make sense?
If Putana had any inclination towards Krishna, if she has any attraction when like...
Apparently not, although anything can happen once you're breastfeeding Krishna. But I've never read anything. I mean, she'll have to have a transformation for her to be Krishna's mother, obviously. So for her to be qualified to take that position eternally, he would have to transform her. But I've never read about the transformation, but she can't take that position without being transformed. So yes, you had one more question?
This is a short conversation that I recorded of Prabhupada. I would like you to hear it because my question comes from this.
Okay.
Because we have no idea that what sort of servant is in the transcendental world. In the transcendental world, there is no distinction between the servant and the master.
No what? Between servant and no distinction between servant and master.
But in the transcendental world, in the absolute world, everything is one. Therefore, there is no distinction between servant and master.
Everything is one? No distinction between servant and master. Okay, I could tell a story. Well, it's not a story, it's a lecture. Prabhupada was saying, the devotee who's cleaning the temple floor and the devotees worshiping the deity, they're the same, it's absolute. Because it's service, and service is one. And sometimes Prabhupada would say, you know, the gopis, the cowherd boys, you know, not one is better than the other. They're all serving in their own way. They're all serving in their own way. We do make distinctions in terms of categories of bhakti, but in the sense, levels of devotion, levels of love, but in the sense Prabhupada's talking about is they're all devotees. Krishna loves them equally. They love Krishna, their love for Krishna can be more intense, but Krishna loves them equally. But one time Prabhupada said something interesting. He said, when you offer a flower, sometimes there's an insect. He said, an ant, I guess ants like roses. There's an ant on a rose. And you offer the flower and you put it at Krishna's feet, and then the ant crawls off the rose and crawls onto Krishna's feet. And Prabhupada said, and so that ant crawls off, kisses Krishna's feet, and that ant is as good as the pujari, because the ant has, you could say, the ant has touched Krishna's feet. So in that certain, say, is an ant actually as good as a pujari? Can an ant chant 16 rounds and do service? No, there's obviously a difference, but Prabhupada's in a certain category of understanding, it's all equal. You do puja, the ant touches the feet, it's all seva, it's all one. So there's a oneness and a difference simultaneously. But it's all spiritual one. And Krishna is the servant of his devotees also. So you want to hear something interesting? This is funny. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was asked, how many disciples do you have? And he had, 10,000 or something. And he said, I have 4. Everybody's thinking, why do you say you have 4 when you have 10,000? And he said, I have 2 arms and 2 legs. These 2 arms and 2 legs will do whatever I ask. They are my servants. The other 10,000, I am their servant. So I only have 4 disciples. So that's the attitude of, even Krishna has that attitude, that I am servant of my devotees. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Krishna loves to serve his devotees, so you might say, well, that's good, Krishna, I got a list of things I need, can I send it to you? But he said, Krishna loves to serve the devotees, but he won't give them what they can't handle. But when they become pure, then he knows whatever they want, and he gives it to them. So Krishna would rather be the servant, and the devotee would rather be the servant. So that's what, in pure existence, Krishna's trying to serve the devotee's trying to serve Krishna. That's what's going on.
And Maharaj, real quick, please forgive me. I sometimes still struggle with thoughts that are not productive to Krishna consciousness.
Right. What to do about them?
Because of my Christian background, I sometimes think, oh, Krishna might be the devil.
Oh, all right.
Worshiping the devil. But then I try to think, okay, look at Krishna's personality, what he's done, his actions.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what are the names of all the demons that Krishna killed when he descended 5,000 years ago? And what personality, what demonic personality traits they represented?
That's in the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And you could probably easily find that online. Each demon represents a specific anartha. So if you just look at the demons, killing the demons and what anarthas they represent at Bhaktivinoda, then you'll get the whole.
He has to hang out with me.
You'll see all the demoniac. If you just hang out with him, you'll see every bad quality that anybody could have.
That's the only thing he has to do.
No, but he can't have any bad qualities because he's humble, because he admits he has. Anyone who admits they have bad qualities is humble, so they must not have any. One thing you can, what I think is obvious is you look at the devotees, you look at their lifestyle, you look at the purification they're experiencing, the happiness they're experiencing. So that's tangible proof that Krishna is pure, Prabhupada is pure, and the devotees are pure. So you want to use common sense, practical. What did Jesus teach? Love God, serve God, surrender. What are the devotees doing? Loving God, serving, surrendering. Let your experience guide you. Be your reality. And as far as doubts, they'll be there. But always, go back to your experience. And then always try to have good experiences every day, because those experiences is how you'll become strong. Because you can always fall back on those experiences. If you ever have a doubt and say, well, I have a doubt, but what was that ecstasy? Was that my imagination? What was that realization I got from reading the Gita? Was it my imagination or was it actually deep? So, Maya's just trying to put doubts in your head. I was in a lecture once, and it was in the teachings of Queen Kunti, and I'm not sure which verse it was. But Prabhupada said, Krishna will test you. He wants to see, have you come to serve him or have you come to disturb him? So, what I would suggest is that when you have doubts or difficulties, see that as opportunities. And Krishna is just testing you, and now you have an opportunity to show Krishna what you're made out of. So, let all these doubts and difficulties come. It's no problem. It's just Krishna will show you. I once told Krishna, send Maya in any form you want, because I was feeling so Krishna conscious. I was like, yeah. And then he sent Maya, and I went, Krishna, that was a little too much. He sent it the next day. It was because I got puffed up, and he's like, and then I was like, I guess I'm not as immune as I thought. But it was so funny, like Krishna playing a joke with me. But we can see these, Okay, I have a doubt, it's a challenge. So now I'll have to manifest more faith and devotion to Krishna to deal with that doubt, or whatever the difficulty is. So you can see it in a positive way. Now, Krishna, I can show, this thing is in my head, but this is giving me an opportunity to show you, Krishna, that this thing in my head I'm going to ignore, or I'm going to spin it around and turn it into something better. So you can see the negative in a positive way. It's just opportunities. The world gives us lots of opportunities, don't they? Isn't it? All the time. You know what they say, you want to learn tolerance, and you got to have someone to bother you. Otherwise, how do you learn it? So Krishna sends you somebody, like, Krishna, what are you doing to me? I don't deserve this. And I said, no, I'm just teaching you tolerance. I'm giving you opportunity, anyway. Whether you learn, that's another question, but... Okay. Good. Thank you very much. I think we should end, right? 8:30. Time to go home. Thank you all for coming. Nice to see you. Nice to be here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Nectar. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Nectar.
Thank you so much. This is the torture of Alachua. See you in 2 weeks for the next chapter of Ekadasi Srila Prabhupada Lilambrita Ki.
Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Bol.
Thank you, Brahma.
Thank you. I hope everybody likes everything. Bring somebody next Ekadasi. Invite somebody to taste the nectar.